Today we are going to crochet the Tender is the Night crochet scarf. It's a very simple 3-row repeat, and really 2 of those 3 rows repeat with just that half double crochet stitch all the way across. We have sort of a bobble stitch as one of the rows, and it creates just the simplest, most elegant and warm crochet scarf. For my scarf, I have used the Roll With It Sparkle by Red Heart. I used an entire cake for one scarf, and I will put the measurement of this scarf down below. But one of these cakes is 561 yards. Now this yarn says it is a 4 medium size weight yarn, and it recommends a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. For this project, I am going to be using the 6 millimeter crochet hook. You'll also need scissors and a yarn needle to weave in your ends, so let's jump right into it. For this stitch pattern, you will need a multiple of 2 plus 1. For the scarf that I have already completed, I chained 36 for my multiple of 2 plus 1, 37. For this tutorial, I'm just going to create a little sample swatch so you can see how the pattern is created, and then as you're crocheting your own scarf, you would just chain that multiple of 2 plus 1 for as wide as you want your scarf to be. So we're going to start with a slip knot on our hooks, and again chain a multiple of 2 plus 1. So what you do is you chain 2, chain 2, chain 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2 for as wide as you want, and then you would just add that extra 1 at the end, and that's our turning chain. For row 1, all we want to do is work a single crochet into each stitch all the way back. So to do that, you're going to work into that very first chain. So this one doesn't count here. You're going to find that next one over, put your hook in, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull back through 2. That's a single crochet. We're going to find the next chain, put our hook in, pull up a loop, pull back through 2, single crochet. So you want to do that into each chain all the way back. For row number 1, it's just a single crochet off your foundation chain. So there is row 1, our single crochets completed. We're going to now work on row 2. To start row 2, you want to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn your work, and find that very first single crochet, or that very first stitch. You don't want to work right back into where you chained out of. You're going to find the next stitch over, and we're going to work a cluster. So to work a cluster, we're going to yarn over, put our hook into that stitch, pull up a loop once, yarn over into that same stitch, pull up a loop twice, yarn over into that same stitch, pull up a loop. That's 3 times. I'm going to do this one more time, yarn over, put my hook in that same stitch, pull up a loop, and now I can pull back through everything. There should be 9 loops on your hook, so yarn over, pull back through everything, and then we're going to chain 1. We're going to skip the next stitch over, and we're going to work a cluster stitch into that next stitch. So we're going to yarn over, put our hook in, pull up a loop 4 times. That's once, twice, 3 times, and 4. You should have 9 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull back through everything, chain 1, skip the next stitch, find the next, and work a cluster. And when you're working your cluster stitches, you want to pull up that loop fairly tall and fairly loose, because you don't want it to be too difficult as you are yarning over and trying to pull back through everything. If you do them too tight, it's very difficult to pull back through all of those loops. Chain one, skip the next, cluster into the next. So that is row 2. We're just going to work this all the way down, and I will show you in just a second how to finish row 2. When you get to the end of your second row, you'll have 2 stitches left. We have that stitch right here, and then there's a stitch right there on the end, which is our turning chain essentially. We're going to chain 1, skip 1, and into that very last stitch we're going to work a double crochet. So that turning chain sometimes is a little bit difficult to find. You're just going to work a double crochet into that very last turning chain stitch. And that is row 2. For row 3, we're going to chain 1, turn, and this is where we work half double crochet stitches. We're going to work a half double crochet right back into that top of our stitch that we just chained 1 out of. So half double crochet, yarn over, put your hook right back into that same base stitch, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull back through everything. We're going to work a half double crochet into each stitch and space all the way across. So we come to our first space right away, and you're just going to work that half double crochet right into that space. Find the top of your little cluster stitch, yarn over and put your hook in, and work your half double crochet right into the top of that stitch. There's our space. Work that half double crochet into the space, half double crochet into the top of our cluster stitch, half double crochet into the space. So you're just working a half double crochet into each space and the top of each cluster stitch all the way back down for row number 3. And I don't know if you can hear, but my little puppy Scout, she's not really a puppy anymore, but she is snoring comfortably next to me. So if you can hear that little puppy snore, that is what that is. Alright, so at the end I've got a cluster stitch, and then I've got my turning chain here. We're going to work a half double crochet into the top of that cluster stitch. And then, instead of working into the space, we're going to find the top of that turning chain and work a half double crochet right into the top of that turning chain. And that is row number 3. For row number 4, we're going to chain 1, turn. This is another half double crochet row. We're going to work a half double crochet into that very same stitch. You can see it's right here from where we chained out of. So work your half double crochet into that stitch. And now you can work a half double crochet into each stitch all the way across, and that will be row number 4. So the pattern repeat is a repeat of rows 2 through 4. So you're just repeating the cluster stitch and then 2 half double crochet rows, and then after we finish this row number 4, we will work our cluster stitch and then 2 half double crochet rows after that, and you just repeat that for as long as you want your scarf to be. At the end, you always want to work a stitch into that turning chain. So just pop a half double crochet into that last turning chain stitch. That will keep your ends nice and even. And there we are. So we've got our cluster row and then 2 half double crochet rows. So to start the pattern repeat again for our cluster stitch, we're going to chain 3 and into this very first stitch. So not this one, this is the stitch where we have chained out of. You're going to ignore that. This chain 3 essentially counts as a stitch. So we're going to ignore that, move right into the next stitch and work our cluster stitch. Yarn over and pull through everything, chain 1, skip the next stitch, cluster into the next. Once you get the hang of the pattern and row repeats, I guess just the pattern repeat for this one, it moves super quick even with these cluster stitches. You're only working them every third row. So yes, this pattern eats up a little bit of yarn, but really you're only working those cluster stitches every third row, so it's not as bad as if you're working those stitches more often. I'm going to work this last cluster stitch row on camera, and then I will show you how to finish off your scarf. Now I didn't add any tassels or fringe or anything to mine, but you can certainly do that. If you have a simple border that you like to use on the ends of your scarf, you can do that. Basically this stitch pattern is just a multiple of 2. So if you have a specific sort of border stitch pattern that you like to use, then you can for sure go ahead and use anything that you'd like. I'm at the end again, going to skip that last stitch and work a double crochet into the top of that turning chain. If I was going to keep going, I would work my 2 half double crochet rows and then repeat that cluster stitch row over and over and over. When you get to the overall length that you want and you're done crocheting, maybe you've run out of yarn, save a little bit for one more half double crochet row, chain 1, turn, and this is our finishing row, and it is super simple. It is exactly what we have done for our row number 3, where we work a half double crochet into that same stitch that we chain out of. You're basically just repeating row 3 and then stopping. So you're going to work a half double crochet into each space and the top of each cluster stitch, and that will give you a nice little ending row. Very simple. If you feel like the half double crochet stitch is too tall of a stitch to end on, you can always just work a single crochet stitch instead of a half double crochet stitch for this last row. Completely up to you. I like using the stitch that I have been working with throughout the project or the pattern, but this is something that is definitely flexible and you can really make it your own. So if you would prefer to use half double crochet or single crochet, then go ahead and do that, and there we go. And it's just a nice little simple finishing edge. There's no frills to it, but like I said, if you have a border stitch pattern that you like or that you want to try. On the end, you've got a nice even stitches here to just continue on, and then you would just work the same thing along your foundation chain. Works up really quickly, and it only takes one cake of the Red Heart Sparkle roll with it. I hope you enjoyed this crochet scarf tutorial. Until next time, happy crocheting everyone. Bye!